This is the first line from the first Dune movie.
My planet Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun is low.
And it's a good opening line. It establishes the setting, it's got that sort of dreamy atmosphere that's important to the film, and has some gorgeous cinematography.
You can see spice in the air.
But that's not all it does, because, well, look at this scene from Part 2.
Look, right there, Spice. Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun is low.
This link between the two films is subtle, but when you notice it, they seem more interconnected and thought out.
And it was the first time that I had the chance to revisit a world. I had done Part 1, and now I had the chance to go back on Arrakis.
This is the spice affecting Paul in Part 1.
I recognize your footsteps, old man.
And this is Paul reuniting with Gurney in Part 2.
I recognize your footsteps, old man.
So you always make your movie in reaction from the last one you've made.
So Paul can see the future, and these recurring motifs make this prescience part of the films themselves, helping us experience what Paul is feeling.
They say you can see the future.
Part 1 begins with foreigners invading Arrakis to mine for spice, but Part 2 ends with the exact opposite. Paul and the Fremen are leaving Arrakis to fight the Great Houses.
The Holy War begins.
There's plenty of videos on YouTube celebrating Dune. Its cinematography, sound design and world building.
Now that's interesting because in the film books I've studied,
But for today's video, we're not going to explore what makes Dune Part 2 a great film,
the anthropologists say in order to properly sound like you actually have to.
but rather what makes Dune Part 2 a great sequel.
Never mind. Please keep going.
I don't think it's saying too much to say that, you know, if Dune Part 1 was Star Wars, this to me was very much The Empire Strikes Back.
There's lots of things that make a great sequel. Some of them sort of act as a secondary story to the original film.
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
The first movie is clearly ended, and the sequel brings a new conflict,
I want that shit.
typically a new villain,
How about a magic trick?
and might reveal an extra dimension to this world.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear.
But the first story is finished, and the sequel is sort of a separate extension to it, rather than a direct continuation of it.
It's gone.
This is The Dark Knight and The Godfather Part II,
It applies to my family.
but it's not Dune Part 2,
I know where your father hid the family atomics.
which continues the already established and unfinished story of the first film.
This is only the beginning.
And now with Dune Messiah confirmed, we know this will just be the second part of a trilogy.
If we do Dune Messiah, I want to make the best movie ever, so I want to just take my time.
And in my mind, the gold standard for on-screen trilogies is Lord of the Rings. On the surface, there's a lot of similarities between Dune and Lord of the Rings. They both have an epic scope with large worlds and intricate cultures.
What about second breakfast?
And there's lots of characters and moving parts. They work on both a huge scale
You've been summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor.
and a more intimate level.
Don't think he knows about second breakfast, Pip.
But while the first film sets up the character's world and conflict,
Sauron was destroyed.
it's the job of the second film to build upon this and introduce something new without losing any focus.
Saruman has poisoned the mind of the king and claimed lordship over these lands.
The Two Towers has every reason to be the awkward middle child of the franchise. We already know most of the characters, and it has none of the fun world building of the first movie,
The shots of Narsil.
or the grand finale of the last.
For Frodo.
The Two Towers was always regarded as a difficult one
But what it does have is a compelling story that expands the world of the first film.
because it's the middle, it's the bridge film is what they call it,
It raises the stakes and brings this pre-existing conflict into a new chapter.
which means it doesn't have a beginning and doesn't have an end.
It keeps the momentum of the trilogy, and to top this off, has one of the best battle sequences ever filmed.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
I mean, The Two Towers is actually my favourite of the three movies.
We're given a sort of semi-resolution, which leaves all the parts in place for the conflict to end in the final film,
The battle for Helm's Deep is over.
while still leaving just enough plot threads in the air to carry the story forward.
The battle for Middle-earth is about to begin.
And it's the same with Dune Part 2. Most of the characters have already been introduced, the world is established, and the conflict's already in motion. So how do you keep the story fresh and engaging? You introduce new characters.
Feyd-Rautha.
You bring extra dimensions to the existing locations.
He's psychotic.
And you raise the stakes of the conflict.
That's irrelevant.
Would Feyd-Rautha work if he was introduced in Part 1? Not really, there's no natural place for him in the first story, and we already have an enforcer character.
How
But his introduction in the sequel is one of the best parts of the movie. He serves as our link back to Gedi Prime, which is reinvented in Part 2.
Subtract color from their world will say something about their way of thinking.
Sure, the planet is technically introduced in the first movie, but with the infrared sequence, it's given a whole new identity.
Greg Fraser, of course, loved the idea, and he brought himself the idea of infrared cameras.
Before, it was quite a generic dark planet ruled by bad guys.
Now our trade is with live.
But now we see more of its culture and society, while at the same time reintroducing the Harkonnens into the story in a natural way.
Happy birthday, dear nephew.
All of the visions in the first movie are paid off, and it's in the second movie that Paul's arc goes from a simple hero's journey into a more nuanced and unique story that warns against these types of heroes.
That's an order! Gurney Halleck, go south!
Lord of the Rings celebrates this kind of mythical saviour who lives up to his family name and saves the world from evil.
And I shall die as one of them!
It's Frodo, it's Gandalf, it's Aragorn.
I made some stew.
All of the characters in Tolkien's story are clearly good, or clearly bad.
We must join with him.
But what if Aragorn was evil?
It's good.
Really?
Sure, Paul's arc has all the traditional beats you'd expect. He has a call to adventure when he arrives on Arrakis.
How does it feel to walk on a new world?
He has multiple mentor figures.
You fight when the necessity arises, no matter the mood.
He eventually crosses a threshold into a completely new world where he's tested and forced to prove himself. And he's literally reborn before he returns to fight and ultimately defeat his enemies.
Because I wanted to be faithful to Frank Herbert's initial intention.
But with Part 2, the entire framework we view this journey in changes.
Leaders amplify the mistakes. Their mistakes are amplified by the numbers who follow them without question.
We're setting thumpers. I'm moving everyone to the south.
Because of the Holy War, and because we know what will happen if Paul succeeds,
I'll stay behind and cover your retreat.
His journey isn't a triumph, but a tragedy.
What are you talking about?
Johnny, I can't go with you.
He wanted to make a cautionary tale instead of a celebration.
You know why?
And charismatic leaders tend to build up followings, power structures, and those power structures tend to be taken over by people who are corruptible.
Part 1 sets up Paul to go on a traditional hero's journey.
I found my own way to it. Maybe you'll find yours.
But the sequel both celebrates and subverts this arc.
Father, I found my way.
He goes from a hero in Part 1
Fremen speak of the Lisan al-Gaib
to ending as an anti-hero in Part 2.
And for him, he was an anti-hero. He was a dark figure.
The sequel has all the tried and tested conventions, but puts a unique spin on them.
My lord, the great houses have answered.
The book was a warning for him about a messianic figure.
Elevating Paul's transformation from a typical savior figure
We await your orders, Lisan al-Gaib.
into a fated cautionary tale against idolizing these figures.
Lead them to paradise.
Paul ultimately succeeds in defeating his enemies.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
But fails at resisting the primal urges he was initially trying so hard to avoid.
If I go south, I might lose you.
You will never lose me.
Lord of the Rings is a classic story of good versus evil.
What are we holding on to, Sam?
Noble heroes must endure temptation and despair as they fight to preserve everything that's good.
There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo.
But in Dune, the characters aren't really motivated by doing what's right,
and it's worth fighting for.
Rather by religious fanaticism or revenge.
My Duke.
Paul gives in to the power offered to him by the Bene Gesserit propaganda and the Fremen.
It's not a prophecy.
But in Lord of the Rings, the characters resist the power offered to them by the ring.
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
Both stories explore the hero figure, but from two different directions.
It's a story that you keep telling, but it's not their story, it's yours.
Tolkien celebrates it, but Frank Herbert warns against it.
We gave them something to hope for.
Don't trust leaders to always be right.
That's not how!
What if Aragorn used the ring, and in the process was corrupted and became a new Dark Lord? What if Aragorn was evil?
Where is the ring? Stay away!
Well, Dune Part 2 gives us the answer.
You die like an animal.
And it seems like Dune Messiah will make sure this is as clear as possible. A general rule of a good sequel is that you have to do something new.
Just setting a new course.
It's Schwarzenegger becoming a good guy in Terminator 2.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And Aliens becoming an action movie, while Alien was a straight up horror. It's why The Hangover 2 felt like a lazy rerun of the original.
Oh, this time we really fucked up.
And why The Force Awakens felt so similar to A New Hope.
That's not how the Force works.
So what new elements does Dune Part 2 introduce? Well, we've already talked about how it muddles the morality of the story, but it also introduces us to a whole new culture.
Hulu decides today if you become Fremen.
In part 1, the Fremen are kind of in the background. The most we get of Chani is through visions, and we only get a handful of scenes with Stilgar.
That's very honorable.
We learn more about them through film books, rather than seeing their society itself.
The Fremen share the deep desert with the giant sandworms.
But in part 2, we're fully immersed with their culture.
No, we are in the deep desert. Only Fremen can survive here.
They go from quite a basic native population
These people have waited for centuries for the Lisan al-Gaib
to a three-dimensional society with different factions. Some are skeptical of Paul.
You don't believe in all this?
While some welcome him as the Lisan al-Gaib.
Southern tribes believe a messiah will come to deliver us from evil.
We see their practices, like harvesting every drop of moisture from killed enemies.
Filthy water.
Their battle tactics, and perhaps best of all, we learn more about the worms. Which leads on to the second rule of a good sequel. Resolve the promises set up in the first film.
You've won. You want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemies. That's all.
It's actually seeing Michael Corleone as the Godfather in Coppola's second film.
It was Hyman Roth that tried to have me killed.
Or learning about Rey's heritage in The Last Jedi.
You come from nothing. You're nothing.
As Paul goes into the desert at the end of part 1, he sees a Fremen riding a worm.
Desert power.
There's an implicit expectation that in part 2, he'll ride a worm himself. And of course in the sequel, he does exactly that. The first film is full of visions. We get a lot of Chani, and obviously in part 2 we actually see her relationship with Paul.
Maybe I'll show you the way.
We see Jessica holding a baby, and in the second movie her unborn baby plays a big role.
And she reminds you that you must reserve your hand for the most strategic alliance.
And most importantly, we see visions of the Holy War, of a burning pile of bodies and the Fremen in battle.
A warrior religion that waves the Atreides banner in my father's name.
But these are just the visions that come true. We also see Chani stabbing Paul, and we see Jamis acting as a mentor to him.
I will show you the ways of the desert.
These aren't necessarily visions of the future,
I see possible futures.
But visions of a future.
All at once.
In doing this, Paul's fate becomes less deterministic.
Our enemies are all around us.
Killing Jamis proves that Paul has agency over his future, which makes his decision to start the Holy War all the more tragic.
I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
Another important rule for sequels is that they should either resolve or build upon the existing character arcs.
It's simple. We kill the Batman.
In Batman Begins, Bruce Wayne learns to become a symbol of hope and justice for Gotham.
It's a symbol that can be incorruptible.
But in The Dark Knight, he sacrifices this symbol.
I killed those people. That's what I can be. No, you can't. You're not.
Taking the blame for Harvey Dent's crimes in order to preserve Dent's reputation as Gotham's White Knight.
I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be.
The Dark Knight builds upon Bruce Wayne's journey by adding more development to his character and testing the lessons he learned in the first film.
You're the symbol of hope I could never be.
If you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with Paul's arc. Visually, he transforms from this to this.
I was very moved and proud of how Timothy embraced Paul's journey.
He goes from being silenced by the Reverend Mother
Silence.
to silencing the Reverend Mother.
Consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides.
Silence! He was a boy in part 1, and then bringing this boy to being a man, to become that charismatic dark figure, to become this power that is the Lisan al-Gaib.
I am Paul Muad'Dib Atreides!
On the screen, it was like, for me, I thought Timothy did a fantastic job.
Duke of Arrakis!
When he first arrives on Arrakis, the sand blows into the Atreides ship, a metaphor for this new unknown environment they're entering.
My lungs taste the air of time blown past fallen sand.
But in part 2, when Paul and the Fremen attack the Emperor's court, he's surrounded by the sand. He's become part of the environment, fully adapted to Arrakis and fully part of the Fremen. Villeneuve also shows the journey through the colours of the two films. Part 1 begins with the desert being quite washed out in beige.
What would you do if your ornithopter went down out here?
It's an unfamiliar and inhospitable environment, so the muted colours match this uncaring place.
You wouldn't want to go down out there. It's worm territory.
But in part 2, when Paul becomes more familiar with Arrakis, the colours become more vibrant, warmer and more inviting.
Hey! Stilgar!
And finally, once Paul drinks the water of life, we return to the washed out greys and muted colours.
So this is how it will survive.
Right after Paul learns he's part Harkonnen,
Muad'Dib!
the visuals become darker.
By being Harkonnens.
But what's perhaps most important for a sequel, especially the middle entry of a planned franchise, is that it needs to have a satisfying conclusion in and of itself.
Exactly.
It should simultaneously progress the overarching story while still having its own self-contained conflicts and arcs. The Empire Strikes Back starts with the Empire attacking the Rebel base on Hoth. Then Luke trains with Yoda.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Against Yoda's advice, he goes to help his friends, acting on impulse and leaving his training early.
You must complete the training.
Luke arrives and fights Darth Vader, he gets his hand cut off, Han is frozen in carbonite, and the film ultimately ends on a loss.
He told me you killed him.
It still leaves some questions in the air and gets us excited for the next film.
No, I am your father.
But everything is self-contained. Character arcs and plot threads are set up and resolved within the film. The journey is complete and the ending is satisfying. And sure, Dune 2 starts where Part 1 left off, but it still has a self-contained narrative that works within the wider framework of the planned trilogy.
That if someone had not seen Part 1, he will still enjoy Part 2. That Part 2 will be an autonomous movie.
And what this comes down to, ultimately what makes a good sequel, is that it needs to be a good movie first and foremost.
Make sure that you can enjoy Part 2 without having seen Part 1.
The Dark Knight, Godfather Part II, The Two Towers and The Empire Strikes Back are all great films in their own right.
Are you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder?
If the experience watching it isn't satisfying, it's not going to work either as a good movie or a good sequel.
Well, hello, beautiful.
And is the experience watching Dune Part 2 satisfying?
You fought well, Atreides.
I'd certainly say so.
You fought well, Atreides.
Dune Part 2 follows all the rules of a good sequel. It does something new. It resolves the promises of the first film and builds upon the character arcs. It puts a unique spin on the hero's journey in line with the source material.
I'm pointing the way!
While still celebrating the cinematic tradition of the trope.
As a servant of the Imperium, you will bow at my feet.
And all of this is supported by world-class filmmaking and impressive performances all round.
Your feet! You'll be lucky to keep your head.
All of the great things about Part 1 are elevated. It's somehow larger scale and more intimate.
I'd very much like to be equal to you.
But most importantly, despite being the middle part of a planned trilogy, Dune Part 2 stands on its own 2 feet as a great film.
This prophecy is how they enslave us!
It stands as a testament to the power of sequels when done right.
I'd rather we talked about this when we were alone.
It expands upon the rich world building and complex characters of its predecessors.
Lisan al-Gaib.
It introduces something new and resolves the promises of the first film.
Voice from the outer world.
While also delivering a thrilling and emotionally resonant narrative.
It's their name for Messiah.
Dune Part 2 not only honours the source material, but surpasses expectations.
They see you, they see the signs.
It might be a bit early to call it one of the greatest sequels of all time, but it's certainly heading in that direction.
You see what they've been told to see?